It's been a story of the summer, really, that's been hugely misreported and certainly not got the attention it deserves. Well, today on the Footy Agenda, let's try and give it as much attention as we can as we look into Morecambe Football Club potentially losing their place and seat at the table of the English footballing pyramid. Last season saw Morecambe exit the EFL after spending 17 years between the Championship and League Two. They now will be playing in the National League next season, which should be commencing on Saturday, but the club have had their first opening fixtures postponed due to insufficient funds. This should be a promotion push season, but it might sadly not be a season at all for the Shrimps. And the reason why we're seeing this Seaside Football Club pummel all the way down to the National League is because of the man in charge, Jason Whittingham, placing the club for sale in 2022. Since then, the inevitable had happened, and the club barely getting any financial backbone to try and at least attempt to elevate up the football leagues. Some would even tell you the club has been decaying ever since Whittingham's bond group purchased the club in 2018. So has Whittingham had any luck with a potential buyer? Well, a young entrepreneur by the name of Sajid Jahal showed interest in 2023, and despite doing the best he can to purchase the club, nothing came in the end to scratch the surface. In the past couple of months, we've had a company called Punjab Warriors, known for buying sport entities, put a bid into the takeover at the club. This was a bid accepted by the English Football League, but got put on pause through a last-minute bid to contest this by a consortium led by a man called Johnny Cato. The Bond Group put out a statement assuring fans that the staff and players will be paid by Cato's investment and the season should go ahead. That was put on out to the fans on the statement on the 18th of July. Nothing has happened since. The most recent club statement put out to the public on the 27th of July states the club are working hard with Johnny Cato to get the purchase over the line, but they now urge Punjab Warriors to make contact in an effort to complete the sale. People questioned if Johnny Cato even exists. I think the reality for the football club now lies down to Punjab to see if they'll continue with their bid to purchase and save the football club. Morecambe staff and players were only getting paid a third of their wages in June. The football club hasn't even had a proper pre-season either. Things can't go on like this, and the deadline had to be set in the end by the league governing bodies, which is the Wednesday the 20th of August, so this month. Let's just discuss the before and potential after with a man who many Morecambe fans will know in the area, who represents the club on your local radio station for the Shrimps Live, doing the match commentaries every weekend with the football club. Dave Salmon, welcome to the channel, Dave. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Rob. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Pleasure to have you on, mate. Thank you for giving us the time today. So, am I right in now saying, Dave, that we had this consortium mystery leader led by Johnny Cato, who battled out with Punjab Warriors down to the wire, essentially, with a last-minute takeover bid, which has basically led to nothing. It's realistically now down to the supposed Punjab Warriors right now to place a bid to try and have any kind of chance in saving the club. If it's anyone, it's going to be them. Isn't that right?
So just to put a little bit of more background onto that, Rob, there's been a lot of confusion about the whole takeover situation, but in a nutshell, the only bid on the table and the only bid as far as we can see is the Punjab Warriors bid. They have been in talks with Bond Group for well over a year now to complete any kind of takeover. The problem that Punjab had was they were not approved. They didn't have the passing of the EFL owner and directors test, the fit and proper persons test, to actually take over the club in the first place. It took them about a year to get that done. So what happened in that interim period, which was our last season, basically our last season in League Two, before we got relegated, Punjab claimed that they basically bankrolled the club. During that period, they gave money to Bond Group to sustain the club, even though they weren't the majority shareholders because they hadn't passed the EFL fit and proper persons test. They finally managed to do that on the 7th of June. And we thought at the time that everything was well. It had taken far more longer than we hoped for, but hopefully the deal was going to get completed in the next couple of days, and Bond Group made all the right noises that they were actually going to complete the deal, sign the shares over, and we could look forward to our first season in National League for 18 years. So lots to get our teeth into. Really, it dragged on and on and on. It didn't get completed, and we're in now this really dire situation that the club is still unsold. The only credible bid on the table is the Punjab Warriors bid, and there's been a series of statements from Jason Whittingham, the director of Bond Group and owner of the club, that have either deflected or said that the deal is going to be completed in the next couple of days, and then it hasn't happened. He then said in one of his statements a few weeks ago that there was this other bidder on the table, and it was led by a gentleman called Johnny Cato, and that this completion of this deal to this new party was going to happen in the next couple of days. For all intents and purposes, Rob, nobody knows anything about Johnny Cato, whether this person even exists, really. There's certainly been no contact with the National League about this new potential buyer. If you Google the name Johnny Cato, the only thing that comes up is a Swedish politician.
Yeah,
So surely it can't be him.
No.
So
yeah. Nothing on LinkedIn either, is there?
No, not at all. So it's either a spelling mistake and it's Jonathan Cato or Canton or something, or it doesn't exist and it was just perhaps a mechanism that Bond Group have used to try and persuade Punjab Warriors to part with more money or something along those lines. Nobody knows. The upshot of it is, though, Rob, is as we speak today, the club hasn't been sold. We are in a dire position, an absolutely dire position. Wages haven't been paid. We've got 1/3 of the wages paid for all staff and players for June, because that's all the club had in the bank. Salaries for July haven't been paid. There's unpaid VAT and tax, and other suppliers haven't been paid. And so with every passing day, as well as not being able to prepare for the National League season, the debt is just building up and up and up. And we're now in a situation where, as we speak now, the day before the start of the National League season, we are currently suspended from the National League until the 20th of August, because we couldn't complete the forms to guarantee that we could financially sustain ourselves for the whole season. And that's why we've been suspended. I suspect if it comes to the 20th of August and the sale still hasn't been completed, that might have quite catastrophic circumstances, certainly from a playing point of view, and we could easily be expelled from the National League, and that, of course, would mean no football at all this season.
Yeah, it's very much down to the wire now, isn't it? And we'll stay on that kind of anonymous theme as such. You know, like we mentioned about Johnny Cato, and I'm glad you mentioned about, you know, potentially it was Bond's Group way of getting a higher bid out of from Punjab, and I think that theory is quite a strong one, without a doubt. But yeah, that anonymous theme as such. We'll put our eyes now onto Jason Whittingham. We've had nothing from him, no interviews, no real responses. You know, from to a business that could go bust and end careers and see a big local football club diminish. What's in your kind of eyes, what's been Whittingham's main aim as a club owner since day one, since he obtained Morecambe in 2018 to make it his own? What, because he isn't a fan of the club. What's been his best interest? Is it just money?
Yeah, basically. Bond Group's business model is that they buy businesses, not necessarily sporting clubs, but they buy businesses who they feel they can perhaps add value to, or perhaps are not performing as well as they might do from a financial point of view. They polish them up and then they flip them, sell them at a profit, and then move on to the next business. That is how Bond Group investments make or claim at least to make their money. So when they took Morecambe on in 2018, and I'll be honest with you, Rob, we were in quite a dire financial situation when the Bond Group did take the club on back 7 years ago now, nearly, and we were grateful that they came on board, because at the time they saved our skin, really. But as time has passed, it became very obvious, due to Bond Group's other financial situations elsewhere in other parts of their business empire, if you will, that things weren't going particularly great. Everybody knows the sad situation that happened to Worcester Warriors Rugby Club. They went out of business. They were in the top flight of English rugby. They went completely bust, liquidated, and it's following with Morecambe a very similar vein in terms of what the steps that have happened to lead to that point about money running out and then bills not being paid and wages not being paid, and then there's a potential new buyer on the horizon, and that buyer's not there, then there's another buyer, and it seems just history really repeating itself. The reality of the situation is Morecambe are in a very dire situation at the moment, as dire as it gets. I mean, as I speak to you now, Rob, I just found out literally an hour or so ago that some electrical contractors have gone into our stadium to remove some lighting that they installed earlier in the summer because their invoice hasn't been paid, so they've removed their goods.
And understandable too, if it,
and that's yeah, absolutely. That's how dire the situation is. The debts are mounting. I suppose the question, the bottom line question, Rob, really is the toss up between whether Jason Whittingham won't sell or whether he can't sell. And if the answer is he can't sell, because there's no logical reason as to why he can't. He's got a credible deal on the table from Punjab Warriors. There's no logical explanation as to why he wouldn't sign the shares over for lots of reasons. So is it that he can't sell? And if so, why? Or will he just won't sell? Is it just vindictiveness on his part, and he feels perhaps his business empire is crumbling maybe, and he's just going to take us down with him? Who knows? Can he not sell because he's got other financial situations tied into the club? I think the truth is probably somewhere between those two.
Yeah, and I think with the lack of kind of communication from him, that's where so many questions are like high up in the sky about it. Why it's getting so much kind of interest now with because there's no real communication whatsoever at all. Because Punjab did have a bid accepted by the Football League, or certainly approved, didn't they? And it was just a case of kind of signing the books really. And of course then we kind of then get this takeover. Last minute takeover bid from this so-called Johnny K2, and it kind of then puts it back to the start again, and we'll hear how we started at the end of League, when you guys finished up in League 2 just a few months ago, because that's another thing as well, the lack of communication from Whittingham, but the lack of communication from Punjab Warriors. No one's really not really made any kind of attempt to speak to, well, without a doubt, major media news sites, or anyone really. Why is that from Punjab? Why haven't we heard from them?
Well, we're in contact with Punjab, and they are in contact with the Shrimps Trust, who are the official fans organisation that represent Morecambe supporters on a regular basis. And to all intents and purposes, the situation with Punjab is not many people know too much about them. If you Google them, there's not much information. If you look at the individual directors, again, not much comes up on, like you say, Rob, on LinkedIn or any of the business online places that you would expect successful business people to at least be named somewhere. So from that point of view, it is all a bit mysterious. I think we can probably take heart from the fact that as an entity, and I believe Punjab Warriors is quite a large consortium of Sikh business people. We can take heart from the fact that they passed the EFL owner and directors tests. So in terms of their legitimacy, we've got to give them their due credit there. And they have said several times, once the deal is completed, if they ever get to take over the club, they would answer any question about why they have been shrouded in some mystery and why it's taken so long. And they said they would answer any question that would be forthcoming. So on face value, we have no reason to be in that respect concerned about Punjab Warriors. We've got to take them on their word and on face value that they're in it for the right reasons. They clearly have the money to complete the purchase, and they've also said that if the sale is complete, they will also straight away clear all of our immediate debts, which is significant, probably £500,000 or £600,000, and growing at the moment. Our wage bill is about £250,000 a month, there or thereabouts, plus VAT and tax payments and everything else that goes in to the club. But at the moment, we have completely and utterly ground to a halt, seemingly because the owner of the club at the moment won't sign his shares over, even though there is a credible deal that's been agreed
Yeah.
on the table, ready to go.
And the best one at that too, especially with like you mentioned it about the stadium lighting going today, or contractors coming in due to an invoice not being met. That only then leaves the club losing value. It feels like as if Whittingham keeps this going on, the club's just going to become. Well, it's going to become less and less valuable by the day. Essentially, it feels.
Well, look, the situation with Morecambe Football Club as a limited company, Rob, is quite simply the business is insolvent. It can't pay its debts. It
Yeah.
can't service its assets.
And there's also
it's
the goalkeeper. He's left recently too. I saw in the last few days.
I'll come on to that in a second. But in terms of the business, it's actually trading illegally at the moment because it's a company without any directors. So that breaches company law, and it's an insolvent company. So you take that into account, but you also have to take into account the fact that we've got a significantly depleted first team squad. We've got players. We only had 9 senior players from the summer who were retained, and a few on a first year pro deal from the academy and that kind of stuff. Because of our financial situation, the National League puts a transfer and registration embargo on us. So we signed one player, and then we couldn't sign anymore. We didn't have any money to sign anymore anyway, so it was irrelevant. But we've not been able to add to the squad, and with all the uncertainty, and I suppose players at a lower level, they, like most working people, you live month by month. You need paying at the end of the month to pay your mortgage. It's as simple as that. So what we've found is that a good number of the senior players who were retained, and I have to give the players absolutely every credit, they stuck around for as long as they possibly could. But this is people's livelihoods. This is and this is before you talk about all the staff and everybody else in every other department. In terms of the players, they've got a very short career. They've got to find somewhere to get fixed up this season. And it's as simple as that. And obviously then get paid. So a lot of our senior players have gone through the door again. You talk about our goalkeeper. Yeah, we had one of our key midfielders left, our player of the season last season, a central defender. He's gone as well. So I would say at best we are probably down to 3 or 4 senior players. They may well have left as well, and it's not been made public yet. So from a squad point of view, even if the sale is completed tomorrow, we haven't got a squad. So that's the problem. But it's just people's livelihoods as well, Robbie.
Sure,
and this is the one thing that's so frustrating. It's not just the players, it's people's livelihoods are at stake. The club has about 200 employees and people with bills to pay. And when you've got people having to go to food banks and can't pay the rent and the car finance and that kind of stuff, that's what is so heartbreaking, really, because it doesn't matter whether it's Morecambe or whoever it is.
Oh, no, yeah.
The football club, even if you don't like football, your football club is at the heart of your community, because that's what football clubs are all 100%. About. They're a community asset.
Yeah.
And from our point of view, it's not just the football, it's all the other community bits and bobs we do. It's the academy, it's all of the junior teams. We have all sorts of things, veterans coffee mornings and NHS cancer clinics and all that kind of stuff. None of that can go ahead at the moment because we've had to completely grind to a halt.
Without that, it's so much bigger than just the 11 men that play on a Saturday at 3:00, isn't it, essentially? We mentioned you yourself mentioned it just a few minutes ago about Panchab, about passing that EFL director's test. However, we've also got Jason Whittingham when he came into, and of course it is almost, well, it's about 8 years ago, isn't it now, when he came in and took over the club. But Jason Whittingham, someone who had been, this is on Company's House, this information, but a director at 25 companies during his career. Out of those 25 companies, 18 have either been dissolved or voluntarily dissolved or put into administration, put into liquidation, or just literally received action into the precursor stage of liquidation. What would be your message of feedback, essentially, to the league governing bodies in strengthening up their own field of tests, or even cry out for an independent regulator in order to see a football club have what Morecambe has had to essentially never happen again. You know, to not have this repeated to another football club, because it seems if Whittingham can get in, anyone can, can't it?
Well, what I would say about that, Rob, is the tests have been significantly strengthened since the Bond Group took over
Yeah,
Morecambe
yeah.
in 2018, and everybody knows what happened to Bury and Macclesfield.
Macclesfield.
They've been gradually working their way
Yeah,
through the leagues, but they're not alone. There were other clubs right on the edge of going bust. Wigan Athletic only had about a day before they were going to be liquidated. They got
yeah.
saved at the last moment. Bolton Wanderers were literally a couple of hours away from the High Court winding them up, and they got saved. So Morecambe are far from alone
And
in that.
I guess
The
would you kind of be more into the favourable tone of wanting an independent regulator, essentially?
Well, firstly, the owner and directors tests needed strengthening, and they have been
Yeah,
significantly. And I think that was on the back of Steve Dale and Berry, actually. And I think then the EFL thought, well, we can't let somebody else come in, buy a club for £1, but not have any money in the bank either, looking to make a quick buck and send the football club into oblivion. So they are significantly stronger than what they were in terms of proving, not only proving that you've got the money in the bank, you've got to prove where it's come from. And you've also got to pass sustainability tests as well. So it's not just you have a sum of money in the bank and you can afford to purchase the football club. You've got to be sure about where it's come from, and the EFL then have to be sure that going forward there's enough to sustain the club, and they've got a good business plan and a good model to actually run the business going forward. So they are a lot stronger. I'm very pleased that the legislation's recently gone through Parliament in terms of the independent regulator, the Football Governance Bill, as it's called. And actually, the local MP here for Morecambe, Lizzie Collins, has been quite instrumental and very vocal indeed in making that happen. And chatting to the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, and to make what was being needed in the game, really, Ron, for a very long time, and that is somebody in the government who can actually hold rogue owners of clubs to account. And
yeah. That's the key word.
it's
Accountable,
early
isn't it?
days.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
early days. It's very early days because the legislation's only just gone through. But it looks on first glance as if the football regulator will have enough teeth and enough behind it to actually take decisive action. It's far too late to save Morecambe. We needed this a year or 18 months ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's too late for Morecambe. But I would, if I was a fan of another club who, let's say, their financial situations were a little bit precarious, or their ownership wasn't quite what it should be, I would be relatively reassured that another Morecambe or another Bury or another Macclesfield wouldn't happen to them, because by the looks of it, on face value, this new football regulator is going to have the powers to be able to step in and literally take ownership or take management, if you will, of a club in trouble to prevent them going bust. Too late for us, unfortunately, but good for the future of the game anyway.
Yeah, because I think like that change in well, certainly strengthening them tests is all well and good, but of course you've still got the kind of current owners in this across all kind of 92 football clubs, essentially, and of course like one to without a doubt say about Chancery at Sheffield Wednesday in terms of like, you know, it would definitely seem he wouldn't pass this test now. However, he is still owner at this football club of Sheffield Wednesday, and that's questionable. Of course, that's another kind of story for another day. But I feel I have to ask this because I kind of lack knowledge into it. But you look at this local area you guys live in, and you know, a man with a lot of money and a lot of noise, and I feel like you're gonna know what I'm gonna about to ask anyway. But it feels like it'd be a bit of a pipe dream. But I lack knowledge on this as well, by the way, mate. So it's probably like a kind of echoing record here. But what would be the chances of Tyson Fury coming in and saving this club with a last minute takeover bid, or just not at all was going to happen?
Not at all, no chance. The thing with Tyson Fury is he is very good at saying what he needs to say, and the sound bites when it suits his own means. So just before a big fight, he needs the publicity, and he's asked about Morecambe Football Club, he'll say whatever he needs to say. The reality of the situation is very different. Actually, in terms of Tyson, he does live in Morecambe. It's not just a front for his Netflix documentary. He lives round the corner from the stadium, literally.
Yeah.
And he's got his gym. His gym is actually inside a part in a corner of our stadium, and
Oh
you
right.
see him every day. Absolutely,
Yeah.
he runs up and down the prom. You see him shopping in Aldi and all sorts of stuff. You genuinely see him out and about because he lives in the Morecambe area. Um, a lot of people have seen his accounts that got published a couple of months ago. He's got 180 odd million pounds on his books, and that's just what is declared in his company. So what he's real worth, it might be more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
With
rest
other
kind of
stuff.
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, on face value, could he come in, just chuck us 5 million quid and clear the decks and take over? I suppose it would be the absolute dream fairy tale ending to what's an absolute mess. The reality is, Tyson has no interest whatsoever. And that's entirely up to him, isn't it? Really,
Without doubt. Without doubt.
no interest whatsoever. You'll hear on Talksport Simon Jordan pleading, and you'll see in tabloid newspapers and all this kind of stuff that, why doesn't Tyson Fury buy Morecambe Football Club? The reality is he's just not interested and won't ever be interested. So
Yeah. It's
I can put that one well and truly to bed, Rob.
without doubt. I mean, you kind of, you also kind of, yeah, you touch up on it like, well, Simon Jordan himself, I actually know, is just saying, like, I'm pretty sure the words out of his mouth has come out before of him going, why would anyone buy a football club? So he kind of contradicts himself, essentially, in somewhat. And you see it even in, like, the Wrexham documentary, to a bit more kind of closer detail of Rob and Ryan just kind of going, wait, how much is that going to cost? Or you know, is actually going to be this amount of a financial debt or what have you? But
Well, the bottom line is,
it's
Rob,
expensive. It's expensive, isn't it? You know?
absolutely. Well, I mean, the reality of the situation is you don't buy a football club to make a profit. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. I mean, it's the running joke, isn't it? How do you become a millionaire?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
answer is you start as a multimillionaire and you buy a football club.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And certainly at lower levels as well. I think the average loss per season in League Two is about £1.2 million, and that's an average. So some lose a lot more than that. But
Yeah.
if you've got a wealthy owner with deep pockets, it doesn't matter. Debt is only a problem if you can't sustain what your borrowings are. There's not many clubs in the whole of the pyramid really who make a significant
No,
profit.
mate.
Obviously, the clubs at the very top do,
Yeah.
but the clubs at lower down the pyramid, certainly League One, League Two, National League, they rely on honest, wealthy owners to basically prop up the club and sustain the losses that they have
Yeah.
season on season. The problem that we had is we haven't got a wealthy owner, far from it.
Yeah, no, and it's also owners who, as well, who essentially kind of like the exact opposite to Jason Whittingham, who put money in in their football clubs to see them elevate up the leagues themselves, which feels Jason's the complete opposite. Real quickly, as we just kind of finish up, just kind of tell me how life has been around the town itself, you know, like in the last kind of few weeks, and or certainly the last 7 days, to the, you know, we record today on the 8th of August. What's kind of life been around the town and you know, fans rejoicing together at the football club? What's it been like?
In terms of the mood, it's obviously completely on the floor
No, yeah,
because
yeah,
it looks as if we are going to be deprived of the football club, which has been going since 1920. So a 105-year-old sporting institution, it looks like we are going to go one way, and so the mood is as somber as you would imagine. But what I would say as well, Rob, is we've seen a remarkable, I suppose you'd call it community spirit over the last few weeks. People coming together to help people out who are perhaps short of money because they haven't been paid for 2 months. We earlier this week, as we speak, we had our kit launch because, of course, with everything that's gone on, we've not had a proper pre-season. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter who you're a fan of. You've all the pre-season stuff, friendlies, signings. What's the new kit going to look like? All of that. We've not had
gone.
any of it. And so our kit supplier, who of course had made all the kit just for the first team and also for the merchandise as well, they had this kit ready to go and nowhere to sell it. So earlier in the week they did a pop-up shop in Morecambe on the prom, and it was a 3.5, 4 hour queue to get into the shop on the day that they
Wow.
did their pop-up shop, and they sold out of most of their stock. And I think that shows the strength of community feeling around Morecambe. We've had lots of clubs offer their support. We've got a coach and loads of other supporters. As we speak on Friday, we are going to watch Bury against Chester tomorrow. So it's
I did see that Bury opening their gates, weren't they? Yeah.
absolutely remarkable. So we've had a coach paid for by a collection of Bury and Chester fans. So the coach is free.
Yeah.
Bury are letting us in for free. Harrogate have said we can go and watch them tomorrow for I mean, Harrogate's about an hour and a half's drive from Morecambe, but they're playing at home tomorrow. They've said Morecambe season ticket holders can go for free if they want to go. And we've had lots of warmth, if you will, from the whole of the football community, because I think, as I said at the very beginning, Rob, it doesn't matter who you support, your football club, or even if you don't like football, it doesn't really matter. Your football club is the heart and soul of the community where you live. And if that dies, a huge part of the heart and soul of your local area dies with it. And that's definitely going to be the case with Morecambe. We're going to get to the 20th of August, and if we are expelled from the National League, that leaves Jason Whittingham and Bond Group with an asset that's currently rapidly depreciating in value anyway. How much is a football club worth when you haven't got any football? The answer is not very much.
Not very much at all.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I love them stories as well. Like Bury opening their doors, and like you said about Harrogate too. But I also hate the fact of that being the case because of a particular situation happening like this. But I do love that kind of like rejoice of the whole footballing community. It's been a very kind of underreported story, so it's been really glad to kind of cover it on this channel. And if you'd like to see more stories in general like that, I'd love to have you aboard, so please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I definitely love holding a football story and putting it on my own spin and doing it myself. If the major media sites aren't going to do it, then we certainly will. Once again, Dave, thank you so much for coming on to the channel today, and my wishes are with Morecambe. In this next month, I think a lot of the eyes from the footballing world in this country will be on this, their club's first day of the season. Obviously, League One, League Two starting next week, Championship this weekend, and Premier League next week. But I think this is a huger story than all of that. I don't care about the excitement and the adrenaline, and this football club could be ending. And Jason Whittingham seems reluctant to even find a buyer himself, despite messages from a large number of MPs, one including the Prime Minister. What happens now, though, is it seems to be up to those who are out there. Panja Warriors may secure a deal, and hopefully they can do too. But it can be dangerous times, and I speak to you as a viewer now. What do you make as all of this, Morecambe fans especially? What needs to change from the Football League governing bodies in order to prevent this happening to any football club ever again? Give us a comment down below if you'd like to get involved. We'd love to hear from you on this one. As I say, best wishes and my fingers are crossed for this deal to be secured before the 20th for Morecambe Football Club. And once again, Dave, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, I really appreciate your time, Rob. Thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to spread the word.
No worries, mate. Thank you. And this has been me, Rob, from the Footy Agenda. If you've made it this far, then thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.